This is Gospel Grit, where we don't sand off the edges of the word to make you comfortable. I'm Kevin Skipworth, and today we're talking about something a lot of people don't want to hear, and that is nobody owes you a relevant church. Let's get into it. Now, I hear this all the time. The music's not my style. I prefer contemporary over traditional hymns, or I prefer traditional hymns over contemporary. I also heard that the preaching's too long. Can't he just shorten it to 10 to 15 minutes? Why does he have to preach to 25, 30 minutes? I've heard it doesn't feel like home anymore. I've heard it's just not relevant to me. And you know what they do? They leave. Not because the church stopped preaching the truth, not because sin went unconfronted. They leave because the church stopped feeling like a product built for them. And here's the problem. It was never supposed to feel like that in the first place. If you look at Matthew 16:18, Jesus said, I will build my church. Not you and not me, not a committee, not a marketing plan. He said, my church. That means it belongs to him and him only. And if you look at Colossians 1:18, it says, he is the head of the body, the church, the beginning, the firstborn from the dead, so that in everything he might be preeminent. Preeminent, folks, not you, him. So when you walk into a church building demanding it cater to your taste, your comfort, your preferences, you got the ownership papers wrong. You don't own the church. Christ does. And he didn't die to build you a comfortable clubhouse. He died to build a bride holy and blameless, devoted to his truth. Now, let me flip this around because it's not just the crowd that's guilty here. It's a lot of pulpits too. There's a whole industry of churches chasing relevance nowadays. Lights, fog machines, a sermon series ripped straight from whatever is trending that week, trying so hard to look like the culture that you can't tell the difference between the church and the world it's supposed to be calling out. And Paul warned Timothy about this exact thing. In 2 Timothy 4:3-4, it says, for the time is coming when people will not endure sound teaching, but having itching ears, they will accumulate for themselves teachers to suit their own passions, and will turn away from listening to the truth and wander off into myths. Itching ears. That's not a future prophecy anymore. That's Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. That's all throughout the week. That's a church board asking, how do we get more people in the seats instead of asking, are we being faithful to the word? Those are two different questions, folks. And only one of them is the church's job. Romans 12:2, do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewal of your mind. Not conformed, but be transformed. A church chasing relevance is conforming. A church chasing faithfulness is transforming people one changed life at a time, whether the world claps for it or not. And listen, this isn't a call to be weird for the sake of weird or old for the sake of old. It's a call to remember what the church is actually for. If you look in Acts 2:42, the early church devoted themselves to the apostles' teaching, to the fellowship, to the breaking of bread, and devoted themselves to the prayers. They do not devote themselves to relevance. They do not devote themselves to a vibe. They devoted themselves to the word, to each other, to the table, and to God. And that's it. That's the blueprint. 1 Corinthians 1:22-24, Paul says, Jews demand signs and Greek seeks wisdom, but we preach Christ crucified, a stumbling block to some, foolishness to others, but to those who are called, the power and wisdom of God. The cross was never going to be relevant. It was foolish to the world then, and it's foolish to the world now. But it's still the power of God to save. You don't fix that up by dressing it up. You preach it. So here's the deal. If you're sitting in a pew right now, grading your church like it's a restaurant, waiting to see if it earns another visit based on how it made you feel, stop. Ask a different question. Not, did this serve me, but did this serve Christ? And if you're a pastor, a worship leader, a board member, chasing the next relevant strategy to keep people in the seats, stop. Your job was never to be relevant. Your job is just to be faithful. Build on the rock, not on the trend. And why? Because trends die. The word of the Lord stands forever. That's gospel grit. No fluff, no apology for the truth, just a word straight. I'm Kevin Skipworth. Until next time, stay faithful, not relevant, and always stay gritty in the word. Blessings.